So we've been watching this reporter for the New York Times for a while, and he is taking credit this week for Walmart finally deciding that they're going to get out of the gun business. And he wrote to them beforehand. Basically, I think he did an open letter as well, pressuring. You have the chance, leadership of Walmart. And he was very upset that the conservatives that are pushing the Second Amendment in Congress are telling these banks and credit card companies to not look at, your information, not to make a list of all gun buyers, not to stop doing business or giving loans to or financial services to gun manufacturers. And look at what's going to happen. If you're watching us on the Blaze right now, I want to give you a blast from the past. How long ago was it I bought this and brought this onto the set?
Feels like it was like almost 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And if you remember right, this is the MakerBot Replicator 2. It was a desktop 3D printer. And if you remember right, several people on the staff, when I did this, one in particular, and because I only know this because he said it to me a couple of years later, made fun of me going, this is ridiculous. This is not going to turn into what Glenn is saying. It's so far away. And what I was saying at the time was, this is the future. You're going to be able to 3D print anything. Now, if you'll see in this printer, you'll see a face. I don't even remember who that was that we printed, but it's a face of somebody, and it's plastic. And it's pretty incredible, but it's still plastic. This is number, let me see, 12, I think it is. Number 15. This was the 15th fully 3D printed gun. And I just want you to listen to the sound of it. Does that not sound like a regular gun? I give this gun once in a while to people who are advocates and people who are also, they're saying, we got to get guns off the street. I hand them this gun. Say, can you tell me anything about this gun? People who actually know guns can't tell me anything. What's special about it? What's so different about it? It's 3D printed. You are going to create a black market. You're telling me this is a 3D printed gun. You're telling me that you can't 3D print magazines? Of course you can. You could hand make those, let alone 3D print. And any gun that you want, you can now 3D print.
And there's a report, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal, that said they now believe the gun that was purchased for the most recent shooting was not as initially reported, but instead was a gun illegally built by someone.
It was not a private.
It was not a normal private sale or
correct.
A gun show type of thing. It was a person who built the gun illegally and then sold it to this guy with the mental issues.
Just so you know, you can fairly easily, I don't mean like you could do it today, but you could take the time and learn how to make weapons. You can make guns. People just don't do it because it's illegal.
Yeah, like you can cook steak, but you can also go to a restaurant and they'll make it for you. It's a lot easier.
Right.
Usually tastes better.
Right. And it doesn't blow up in your hands.
Right.
It does take skill to be able to make a gun. But you can make guns, and people will if there's a black market.
But there's a limited skill that goes into 3D printing a gun. Right now, it is more difficult, and it's would not be easy. A magazine, however...
That's easy.
That would not be difficult for anyone who knows how to use a 3D printer to do. And the idea that you're going to be able to ban a certain size of magazine when anyone can print them at their home. I mean, I'm on Amazon right now. There are dozens of 3D printers under $1,000.
Metal?
Some of them are metal. Some of them are plastic, more this old school style here. But again, like for a magazine, You could make it out of plastic. You could.
All you need is a spring.
Yeah, it's a spring. It's something that's feeding bullets into a gun, into a chamber. It's not like a high tech device.
No,
this is not. It's not meant to be, right? Mm-hmm. So you could do it, and obviously you could build it pretty easily with metal parts. The idea that you're going to be able to ban them is completely ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous, and everyone knows it wouldn't work. The idea that some guy who wants to go murder 20 people is gonna stop because he couldn't quite come up with a piece of metal.
Here's a guy who is mentally disturbed, and he gets turned down legally. He can't do anything. So what does he do? This mentally disturbed guy finds another guy who's willing to go to federal prison for making a gun and selling it on the black market.
Right.
I mean, think of that. That guy was aided and abetted by somebody who is willing to go to federal prison. You need a federal license to be able to make guns. He didn't have one. You need a federal license to sell a gun that you're making. He didn't have one. This guy is going to go to federal prison for this. He was willing to risk that. So for what? To sell it to some mentally disturbed individual? That's not somebody who's going to be impressed with new laws. We must enforce the laws that we already have.
And look, the laws that we already have are not sufficient to stop people from murdering each other.
No,
there's a law against murder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about they always say this stat, which is completely ridiculous, and we've gone over it many times. But it's like, well, there's been 230 mass shootings this year. And they, of course, to get to that number, what they don't tell you is they're, highlighting all sorts of gang violence in the inner cities. Well, does anyone think people with gang violence in the inner cities are going out and buying these guns legally? I mean, you watch The Wire. Do you think these people are going into gun shows to get these guns? They're not. They're all illegally purchased. These are somehow we also ban drugs in this country. There's. You can't have heroin in this country either. Somehow people are acquiring it. Somehow people are manufacturing it. Somehow people are going through the chemical process of creating crystal meth and selling it all over the place to people who don't even have a lot of money.